So saying this, inshallah, I'm going to introduce our dear brother Zaman, who, unfortunately, we see that many people didn't take an advantage of, but he himself is a very erudite figure himself, trying his best in the business world with regards to, fostering innovation, assisting others in the community with investing opportunities, and many hidden gems as well as apparent gems that this brother of ours executes. But inshallah, this session is being recorded, and whoever wants to benefit from the session, or whoever wants to try to make this mindset of, going forward in respect to the deen and the dunya, they can benefit from the recording. But inshallah, just to commence with, I'm going to introduce Brother Zaman, and then we'll get straight into his PowerPoint presentation. So Brother Zaman Mecci is a full-time IT consultant and independent product researcher, and he's a part-time technopreneur. His areas of independent research and study include product market research and innovation. Brother Zaman's work has been featured in Yahoo, Influencer, and Disrupt magazine. So with this, inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the words of Brother Zaman a benefit for us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam independent globally, and people who yearn to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with every passing moment and become keys of goodness and locks to evil. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for coming here. There are not many people. That makes my job easier. I'll try to cut short and keep the topic as confined as possible. It shouldn't take more than 15 and 20 minutes. But yeah, it shouldn't take more than 15-20 minutes. But again, thank you very much. I also thank IFP for giving me this opportunity. It is an honor to share the stage with esteemed panel of IFP speakers. Not only the speakers, but the intellect of IFP community drives my enthusiasm to speak about the topic fostering innovation, a boon to society. Just a disclaimer, the information in this presentation is not intended to compare or compete with different communities or nations, but to acknowledge the innovations and contributions by scientific communities around the world and to motivate ourselves. Firstly, why this topic? Why should we care about innovation? We all know innovation drives the economic growth, improves health, eradicates poverty, and in general improves the well-being. However, the primary reason is innovation benefits the society at large. Anything that benefits the society becomes integral part of our faith. There are numerous verses in the Quran that demand reasoning, intellect, and scientific knowledge. According to Encyclopedia of the Quran, edited by prominent American scholar Jane Damon. Jane Damon is Director of National and International Outreach at the Library of Congress and former Dean of Georgetown University. She held various prominent positions throughout her career, but the more significant highlight about her is that she is not a Muslim scholar, thus ruling out all possibility of any bias to one's own faith. So she says, and I quote, "Science is not just an act of merit, but a collective duty. Many verses of the Quran ask mankind to study nature, and this has been interpreted to mean an encouragement of scientific inquiry and investigation of the truth. Some include travel throughout the earth and see how he brings life into being. Quran chapter 29, verse 20. Behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alteration of the night and the day, there are signs for for men of understanding, 3:190, and follow not of which you have not the certain knowledge of, 17:36. Say, bring your proof if you are truthful, 2:111. And the popular hadith, Allah has sent down both the disease and the cure, and He has appointed a cure for every disease. So treat yourself medically, but use nothing unlawful. Abu Dawud. This hadith has appeared in many other hadiths. Now, if you focus on this hadith, there are two sections, right? One is the first one. I repeat, which is there is a disease and the cure, which is a clue, right? There is a clue, and in the second section is treat yourself medically. That's an instruction, right, from Allah. Now, how do we treat ourselves medically, right? First, we have to do our research and find out the cure. The cure is already given. The clue is already given, which is there is cure, but we must find it first, right? Yes, the shifa comes from Allah, but we have to treat ourselves first. This hadith was probably enough for medieval Islamic scientists to find out numerous cures which laid the foundations of modern science, which is acknowledged even today. According to M. Samshir Ali, another prominent Islamic scholar and scientist himself, there are about 750 verses in the Quran dealing with natural phenomena. The physicist, his name is Abdul Salam, he is from Pakistan, and who is one of the 3 Muslim Nobel Prize winners, believed there is no contradiction between Islam and the discoveries that the science allows humanity to make about the nature and the universe. So Abdul Salam himself was inspired by Ibn al-Haytham and al-Birani, who were the pioneers of experimental approach, breaking away from Aristotle's influence. To understand the contributions to the society, we need to understand where we currently stand as a community. The scope of this topic is limited to American minorities, and to draw an analogy, I am selectively picking up one another minority communities as a benchmark. This does not mean there are no contributions from majority or other minority communities in America. Scientific contributions have come from all communities. Now let's see where we stand in terms of intellectual capital and in terms of financial capital, right? Now this is according to one of the research about 10 years ago in 2012, and the research says there is in 1 in every 10 Muslim household is a physician, right? That constitutes to 5% of the total US physicians, wherein the Muslim US population is just about 1%. So why am I talking about this, right? What is the significance? The first thing is there is no shortage of intellectual capital in the community, right? The community is well educated. There is no shortage of financial capital, right? Then why are we not innovative, right? We'll talk about it more in coming slides, but this is the point, right? Why we are actually analyzing the situation of American minorities. Also, Muslims are as likely as Americans in general to have a household income of over $100,000 US dollars. This is per year as per PEW research. In comparison, 40% of Muslim households report incomes less than $30,000. More than likely than Americans in general to have income under $30,000. Again, there is a disparity here, where there is one elite section of Muslims in America, and there is not so financially well households in America. So there is a disparity there. 29% of the Muslims are underemployed. In comparison, 12% of the US adults are underemployed. let's see where we are in terms of scientific innovations in America. Um, there might be more, but these are the known famous scientists in America. Dr. Ayub Omaya is one of them. He was responsible for many medical innovations. He was born in Pakistan. In simple terms, and I forgive, there are physicians here. I'll just, in simple terms, what it means is, you see on the picture, he created this device, a plastic dome device, which is placed under the scalp, and this he called as Omaya reservoir, and that is connected to the catheter, and this is placed inside the brain. This reservoir is used to provide chemotherapy directly to the side of the brain tumors. I know Dr. Hani is sitting here. Forgive my ignorance in this subject, but anyway, it's beyond my reservoir. I cannot actually get into in depth in this subject. The other scientist is Dhaka-born Bangladeshi. His name is Fazlur Rahman Khan. His engineering innovation resulted in a new generation of skyscrapers that reduced the amount of steel necessary in construction and changed the outlook of American skyscrapers. You see there in the picture, it's a Willis Tower in Chicago, not very far from here. That's the one he built, and that actually radicalized how skyscrapers are built after this building. So these are the only two American known scientists from my limited knowledge. There might be more, but if you guys know more, then please let me know. I'll be happy to include in my future presentations. Let's compare this with one other minority community, that is the Jewish. Their income levels are high. 1 in 4 Jews report family incomes of 200,000 or more, according to PEW research. 1 in 10 US Jew report annual household incomes of less than $30,000, far fewer than the 26% of US adults. Let's see where they stand in terms of scientific innovations. These are the number of biologists. Okay. And there are 102 Nobel Peace winners in Jewish community just in America. I'm picking a few of them because there's no point putting all the names here, but the point is you can just see there. Biologists and physicians, these are the number of chemists who won the Nobel Prize awards, and there are many computer scientists. One of the scientists you see is the Sergey Brin, who's the founder of Google here, and the list goes on and on. I'm just sliding through just to show you the number of Nobel Prize winners from 1940 till until now. Next is you see the number of businesses. It's a fraction of the snapshot on the right hand side. The Googles and the Oracles and the Goldman Sachs, all these are, at least co-founded by the Jewish community, and this is just a small fraction from the vast pool of businesses that the Jewish community have. Now the question is, why is there a big disparity when it comes to science and innovation? We need to ask that, to ourselves. There are many reasons, but the primary reason is the mindset, right? I don't know about others, but in my home, right, when I was in India, and most of the Indian households have this mindset, wherein the parents they encourage children to be a physician, basically, right? If you cannot get through the physician practice in a course, at least you become a dentist. If you don't become a dentist, then become an engineer. If you don't become an engineer, at least graduate. And if you don't graduate, that is seen as a humiliation, which is right. There's nothing wrong in it. And then the safety net, right, of the mindset it does not stop there. What happens is you have the house, we'll show you the girl, you marry her, and then find a job. That's the definition of happy and successful life, basically. And we are taught from childhood to not take any risk, right? Why take risk? Because the definition according to the previous generation, maybe even today when I speak to many of the Peoria community members, they actually take pride in not taking risk. How they navigated the risk, and according to them, it's that's the definition of successful life, which again is debatable. But to create anything, we need to at least take the calculated risk, at least at the minimum. Once we have the house, once we have the bank balances, then again, at least we could actually teach our children to take the calculated risk, right? We'll talk about it in coming slides, but here is the first section of the presentation. Let's move on to the second section. We go back to the history and we draw some conclusions from that. The first one is the notion that the Western countries has always been scientifically superior is incorrect, right? We can go to the history. The Greeks, pioneered in mining and land surveying, and then mathematics, and then there was the ancient India, Indus Valley civilization. They pioneered in Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, which is in the present-day Pakistan, but pre-partition it was India. They pioneered in Ayurveda, Indian astronomy, and the mathematical zero was invented, discovered in India. Basically. As we all know, innovations are not confined to one nation or faith. All nations and people of all religions and faiths have contributed to the development of science, and history stands witness to this. Starting with ancient civilizations like the Indus Valley civilization, the Chinese and the Egyptian civilizations, and Maya in the South American region. Then came the golden age of Islam, and then Europe, and now the golden age of America, the country we live in. The two takeaways from this slide is the Indus Valley civilization, right? Their urban planning, the drainage system they created, the water supply systems they have created are more advanced than some of the rural surroundings in those regions, right? And the other one is the paper, the invention of the paper. The paper was not invented by the Arabs. It was invented by the Chinese. What Arabs did was they changed the utility. They tweaked the utility, right? They changed the use case of the paper. Prior to this, the Chinese just used the paper for the artwork, creating those dragons and everything. And there was an insignificant battle fought between the Arabs and the Chinese, and the Chinese loses, that battle. Then what happens is the Arabs, as a war bounty, because the Chinese lost the battle, they didn't ask for the bounty like the gold or anything else. What they asked was for their men, the Chinese men, to teach the art of paper making to the Arabs. Now what Arabs did was they changed the utility of the paper from art making into bureaucracy. They bought the paper into the signing of agreements, record keeping, and so on. Prior to this, the Arabs used something called papyrus to just write down everything. Even the oldest Quran was written in the leather, and the leather, as you know, will decompose very soon, right? So they commonized the bureaucracy on the paper. The point I'm trying to make here is the medieval Arabs, they gave more importance to the innovation and less to the money and the materialistic aspects of life. our ummah was once upon a time an intellectual powerhouse. It was the cutting edge of civilization. It was admired and respected by the entire world. Never before we had reached the peak of scientific development as we had between the 17th and the 15th century. The last known innovation, I think, it came from the Indian, South Indian king. His name was Tipu Sultan. He pioneered the rocket technology, and I believe the NASA still acknowledges the innovations by Tipu Sultan as the father of rocketry, not exactly, but something like that. Of course, now the whole situation is reversed, and most Muslim nations are suffering economically, and we are at the bottom of the Human Development Index, except for a few oil-rich nations like the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait, who are ranked within 50 countries. The big question we need to ask ourselves is why this reversal? This question cannot be answered in one lecture, but I will quote the analysis by Sheikh Yasser Qadhi, a well-known Islamic scholar from Memphis, Tennessee, from his lecture, The Printing Press, the Rise and Fall of the Muslim Ummah. You can see this in YouTube. It's pretty much detailed. According to Sheikh Yasser Qadhi, the rise and the fall of Muslim Ummah can be attributed to the change of the mindset, and it can be broadly classified into two causes. One is the spiritual cause, and one is the worldly cause. The primary reason the Ummah rose to its peak is the spiritual reason, or the Iman, and the second cause is that they embraced all the world had to offer in terms of science and academia. They fell because of lack of Iman, and also because they failed to keep up with times. So moving ahead, this is just a snapshot of between 7th and 16th century the medieval Islamic scientists. The first one is the classification of chemical substances by Jabir ibn Hayyan, and it is the earliest known classification of chemical substances. The sulfur-mercury theory of metals would remain the basis of all theories of metallic composition until the 18th century. You can see this picture there. His Jabir bin Hayyan on top there. And also the works of Al-Birani and Al-Bidani in mathematics, trigonometry, astronomy is perhaps the greatest and laid the foundation of modern science. If I just include the names of medieval scientists, right, Islamic science, just the names and a sentence about what they have discovered, it will probably take 100 slides. So I've just picked a few important ones, right? Now you can draw the analogy of the present minority Jewish community in America and the Islamic scientists, pre-Islamic scientists, right? There is a match. There is a match there, right? Now there is one interesting history about Al-Biruni is that Al-Biruni was kind of a CTO during the times of Ghaznavid Empire. He was heading the science department, and the Ghaznavids they ruled India for a certain time, and he spent his life in India, and he wrote the encyclopedic work on India called the Tariq al-Hind, History of India, in which he explored nearly every aspect of Indian life, including religion, geology, mathematics, science, and so on. He learned the scientific, the ancient Indian language called Sanskrit, and he translated that into Arabic. Right? He translated the science, the mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and which was practiced in 11th century India. Giving again, the point is they valued the knowledge and the know-how and the innovation during those times. Al-Birani was inspired by the arguments offered by Indian scholars who believed that Earth must be ellipsoid shape and not flat. And they argued that there is an undiscovered continent at the Earth's south pole. That is the Indian, Indian scholars during those times. And they also argued that Earth's rotation around the sun is the only way to fully explain the difference in daylight hours by latitude, seasons, and Earth's relative positions with moon and stars. So one of the annotated diagram explaining the phases of the moon and the sun is on the right. You can see that this is done by Al-Birani, but the significant aspect of Al-Birani was it's remarkable that he recorded this. He acknowledged the innovations, ancient innovations by Indians and most of the other medieval Islamic scientists. They acknowledged the Greek innovations. Compare that to today's scenario. Today's scenario is you take somebody else's innovation and you say it's ours, right? One example is Google and Google Earth. Google Earth was not created by Google. It was created by a small unknown German company, startup company in Germany, and they sued Google for this. And there's a documentary out recently in Netflix about this. But again, that's a different story. But yes, the next one is Musa al-Khwarizmi. He's considered the father of algebra discipline. The word algebra itself derived from his word which is known as al-jabr. Now, if I start even mentioning a few innovations about Khwarizmi, then I would probably need at least 10 or 15 slides. But yes, he was known as the father of algebra. Then we have the Musa brothers. They are three brothers. They were scholars and lived in Baghdad. One interesting fact about Musa brothers is that they hired Greek translators, and they paid them several dinars to translate the work of Greeks into Arabic. So again, highlighting the importance of innovations, this generation gave to science and technology, right? And Musa brothers pioneered in automation devices. The left one is the real annotated diagram. The right one is actually to make the understanding. This present day, automation. People from CAD, would probably know this. Then there is Abbas ibn Firnas. Firnas is probably Elon Musk of his times. He was the first one to try an experiment with the flight, long before even the Wright brothers. He has made various contributions in the field of astronomy and engineering. He constructed a device which indicated the moon of the planets and stars in the universe. In addition, even Firnas came up with the procedure to manufacture colorless glass and made the magnifying lenses for reading. So that's his, somewhere in, I don't know, maybe Persia or Andalusia. That's his statue with he's trying to fly. You can see, and then the famous Al-Zahrawi, considered to be the greatest surgeon of Middle Ages. He has been referred to the father of modern surgery. Again, the most important work of Al-Zahrawi was Kitab al-Tasrif, the encyclopedia of medical practices, which was practiced in Europe for the next 500 years until the 18th century, right? And he made enormous contributions in the field of healthcare and surgeries. And if I start talking about him, you can actually write volumes of book about this person. But in short, he was the first one to identify the hereditary nature of hemophilia. He described the abdominal pregnancy. The first one to discover the root cause of the paralysis, and he created various surgical devices and so on. and one highlight about this PowerPoint is that Donald Campbell, he is the historian of Arabic medicine, and he described Al-Zahrawi's influence on Europe as follows. The methods of Al-Zahrawi maintained a dominant position in medieval Europe for 500 years, that is long after it had passed its usefulness. He, however, helped rise the status of surgery in Christian Europe. So that comes to the end of the second section. So what do we actually learn from this, from medieval Islamic innovations? One is the diversity. Scientific contributions are not confined to a single race, ethnicity, or nation, indicating the signification of collaboration, right? There are no boundaries to seek knowledge. Inspiration can come from other nations and cultures passed through generations. And they also acknowledged it. And then the main thing is, your pursuit, right? The nature, was not seen as something separate, but it was integral part of their faith. Now, what do we need to innovate, right? Do we actually need a lot of, say, intellect? Probably not. The base is actually your pursuit. The foundation is your pursuit, right? The greater pursuit you have, the chances of success becomes, more, right? Greater. At the lowest hierarchy, the pursuit is the prestige. It happens with everyone. I'm guilty of this. Once you grow, like your age, like you reach 40s, now you want to change your profile in LinkedIn, and you want to be a manager or a CTO or something like that. So that's one of the pursuit. Then they have on the upper hierarchy is the sustenance, right? Sustenance can be a very powerful pursuit. One example is there was this person who was a farmer in rural India. So he was getting old and he wanted to climb this coconut trees. The coconut tree, if you have seen, is like circular with one trunk, straight up, no branches. So it becomes really difficult to climb. So what he did was, he created a device that clings to the coconut tree trunk, and he climbs like a Spider-Man, right? He had to do it because he's getting old and he was not able to climb the coconut tree. And he created this device, and this is a classic example of pursuit of sustenance. But we know the sustenance is already written. We believe in it. But our pursuit should be higher than sustenance. So somebody saw this device and they said, hey, you can actually sell this device, patented it, and then you can help other people's climb. And that's when it clicked for him. He can actually start making these devices. Until then, his pursuit was just sustenance, but now the pursuit has gone. I'm sorry. It becomes a pursuit of money. Another stronger pursuit. Most of the businesses, successful businesses you see, is all they have is the drive for making more money. And that's a strong pursuit. And then you have knowledge and excellence. That's also a pursuit, very important pursuit in the process of innovation. One example is our own Peoria robotics team, and if you see their robotics, it's like it's sophisticated, right? That's nothing but knowledge and excellence, pursuit of knowledge and excellence. There is something about this which is I'm sorry, pursuit of impact, right? The higher the pursuit you have, the greater is the chances of success. One example of pursuit of impact is the physician by name Jonas Salk. He discovered a polio vaccine to eradicate polio without even patenting. He did not even patent it. Giving it away for free for a great cause. Basically, that's That's nothing but pursuit of impact. You might be a doctor and you go and work for Doctors Without Borders, for example. That's pursuit of impact and risk your life, right? And one famous quote which came in interview recently with I think it was Amazon Jeff Bezos, who mentioned this company which is Sony, right? Sony is a Japanese company, right? The mission of the founder, his name is Morita. His mission was, he said that they are going to make Japan known for quality, right? This was right after the Second World War, where prior to this, Japan was known as a copycat, basically, right? And copycat products, basically, right? He didn't say that they are going to make Sony known for quality, but he said Japan, right, will make Japan known for quality. So this is a pursuit of impact. And then there's a higher pursuit, not very relevant, but still pursuit of truth. You see this in the scientists, and you see this pursuit in many people who are in search of true religion, maybe true God, maybe. I mean, this is the foundation of anything you do, right? The pursuit is most important. Whether it's in business or whether it's science or innovation. So what actually are the drivers of innovation, right? Drivers of innovation and antibodies of innovation. So balance and stability is actually an antibody of innovation, right? We crave for stability, and that's actually an antibody of innovation. We crave for stability, right? That's actually an antibody of innovation. In the contrary, what is the driver of innovation is the change, right? You constantly keep changing. One classic example of this is, in Bangalore, the city where I live, the Muslim community, right? They were in this manufacturing of many devices a long time ago, about 30 or 40 years ago. And I know one of my relative family who was making these devices, machines it's a textile making machines. And the Chinese came with their market with cheap Chinese products, and then they lost the whole business eventually because they didn't change, right? They didn't change. So there are many examples like this. Even in the community which had businesses back in Bangalore, they didn't change with time. So now, I mean, they're out of businesses, and the next generation are actually working for somebody else. Now, the other antibody of innovation is conservative thinking, right? The old same thinking, not opening up to the fresh ideas, new ideas. That's antibody of innovation. And then the driver is risk. So we need some kind of risk to innovate. So it cannot be with conservative balance and stability always. Then we keep our businesses very private, very private. It's like me, my father, my son, and my grandson. Those kind of business structures, right? Or an investor, an agreement between an investor. You give me this, I'll pay you that percentage, and stuff like that. What we need is diversity, right? You need to create a structure of diversity. If a classic example is, most of you are from Caterpillar. Now, all of you are coming from different countries, right? Or OSF, for example. That's diversity, right? Without diversity, there is no innovation. And you're seeing in my previous slides how diverse it was for innovation in medieval. They actually traveled countries to learn and to gain knowledge. And then strengths can be sometimes antibodies of innovation because on the contrary, weaknesses can be drivers of innovation. Now, what I mean by this is a classic example. Innovations come from garages, right? Innovations mostly, radical innovation would happen from established companies, for example. It comes from garages, right? The weakness could be your strength going forward. So that's a driver of innovation. And type control, right? Our type control is kind of antibody of innovation. You keep your structure, business structure, very tight, right? Me and my son kind of a thing. That is antibody of innovation. And then the driver of innovation is trust. You need to have some trust to innovate. So that is the end of this presentation. The last part is, we don't want to be a community of speeches. We want to be the community of action. So we need to plant a seed, right? The IFP community has come up with the noble idea of starting the incubator program. These pictures you see is the Amazon.com. You see that, right? Nobody is Amazon.com is Amazon.com after so many years, right? This was the Amazon.com 30 years ago, and that was Google. So we all start small, right? And this is from my city. There's an organization called ISRO, and they're carrying the rockets, right? This is a rocket company, and this is around the 1950s and 1960s. They're carrying rockets on a bicycle and bullock carts, right? Now ISRO, a few years ago, they launched 104 satellites into space, and that's a record breaker. No other country has broken that record. So why? Because they planted the seed, right? You might not see the results today, but down the line, this incubator program or any other program could actually become big. We never know, inshallah. So this is the IFP incubation program. I think Brother Faraz, do you want to take over and speak about it? So they have started an incubation program for startups, and the goal of this endeavor is to encourage the present and future generation of Muslims to develop and drive for innovation and promote entrepreneurship. That will ultimately benefit the society at large, benefit ourselves, and inshallah will serve as a sadaqah jariyah for the masjid. They have the programs wherein they provide space for a certain period of time, free of cost. If you have any idea or if you have any skill set you want to work on, then IFP is ready to give the space, of course with a small portion of equity. That's the end of this presentation. I end my talk again here. Again, thank you very much for coming, and thank you IFP for giving me this opportunity. Jazakallah.
If anybody has any questions to ask Brother Zaman, inshallah,
Yeah. Any
please open up your minds and thoughts.
No questions?
For sisters. If the sisters have any questions, there's a mic. Where? Okay, I have a question in the meantime.
Go ahead.
So you see, this is a very attractive endeavor, correct? And we've spoken about it again and again, right? In person, in public. We've taken trips just to try to, think of possible endeavors, together or for the community. But why is it that it's so difficult? Once again, it's like I'm asking something of the nature of an oxymoron, but why is it so difficult for people to build this mindset of, moving forward? Religiously, scholarly, I can say yes, bid'ah fid deen, right? An innovation in the religion is wrong, yeah? It's something looked down upon. But bid'ah lid-deen. Like for example, an innovation for the sake of the deen. So rather than using camels to come to the masjid, we use cars to come to the masjid. That is praiseworthy. That is why when Umar radiallahu anhu, during his caliphate, his khilafah, when the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were praying separately during the month of Ramadan, Taraweeh, somewhere in this corner, somewhere in another corner, 4 or 5 with this Sahabi, and he walked in and, through the firasa and the foresightedness of Umar radiallahu anhu, he gathered people together and he put Amma alayhim Ubay ibn Ka'b. He put Ubay bin Ka'b radiallahu anhu to lead them. But, the Sahaba were not taken aback when this happened. Rather, they said, Ni'matil bid'atu hadhihi ya Umar. That, what a beautiful innovation, once again, for the sake of the deen. This is, O Umar. So, why is it that mindsets are failing to comprehend how important this is? Regardless of the provision aspect. Rizq ala Allah, right? Rizq is from Allah. But once again, just for the sake of pushing that name of this ummah forward for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That ummah which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call on the day of judgment as a witness for against or for all ummah, the nations before it. Why is it so difficult, based on your expertise, for an individual or collectively an ummah to move forward with respect to trying to take risks or trying to engage in some of these things which are going to possibly provide much benefit later on in life?
Very good question by Imam. I think that there are two aspects, the two causes basically. One is again the mindset we have grown with, right? The mindset of stability and mindset of safety, right? Why would I Saturday night not go out with my family and have dinner? Why would I come here, right? My comfort zone, and it's very private, right? Is basically, I'm happy. That's my comfort zone. I make 4 or 5 figure salary. Why would I take the pain of, doing all this? So just today's example, who would have come here, right? They came with purpose, right? They came here, and who are not here, there are very few here in this community, right? So basically it's the mindset and the comfort zone. These are the main. So again, it's very difficult to build the mindset unless you have the open mind, and programs like this, right, will actually drive people. Maybe 1 or 2, and today maybe few more in future, inshallah.
Anybody have any questions? Sisters? So, I didn't speak to anybody about this, but inshallah, using this platform, I'm going to take advantage of saying that hopefully I'll be one of the first ones to be part of this incubator program while using, the IFP platform. And once again, this is something to make so much shukr for, because, as an imam, possibly serving in a certain community, it is like, the person has to think 20,000 times before approaching their own shura and saying that, look, I want to establish a business platform in the community. But wallah, like I say, our community is so unique that you can bring about such good vibes in a community who's humbled itself for the sake of Allah. There's no yearning for power, position, politics, becoming dynamic. So it's once again, if it serves as a motivating factor, then I'm not going to say what my idea is right now because I'm still confused about it. But inshallah, it'll serve to be purposeful, both at a religious level and at a fostering innovation level, inshallah. Jazakumullah. With the, do you have any final words? Or?
So if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. So as part of the incubator program, we have a particular format that we are requesting entries for. We've set up a web on the website. Inshallah, I'll send out the link via email and also on WhatsApp. So if anybody has any ideas that they're thinking that they want to do a startup for it, inshallah, we will work with you, provide you mentors, provide you a space to work for. And inshallah, it will grow into something that's beneficial for you, that's beneficial for the community, and inshallah will serve as a sadaqah jariyah long term for the masjid. And inshallah, my vision is that going forward, we might plan to have an accelerator program where members of our community will have the opportunity to invest in those startups if they find it viable. So Jazakumullah khair everyone for coming, and inshallah we are looking forward to entries, and Brother Zaman will be our lead mentor, and he'll be vetting those ideas and induct into the incubation program, and then we'll set a timeline going forward. Jazakumullah khair everyone, and inshallah. Brother Keith has a question.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
brother.
So, can you give me an example of another community where you've done these and set it up, and what the people there came up with?
Is this for me or Imam?
I don't care.
What do you care about?
Well, I mean, whomever.
That's a good question. This is the first program as far as I'm doing.
Okay.
Everything else was private. I have invested in few startups back in India, few startups here in America. Besides that, there is no incubation program I've done. This is my first one.
Okay.
Can I add to that? So, Brother Keith, when I was living on the mountains in Kamloops, and the Syrian refugee crisis happened, some people in the community took on paths, sort of the paths that Brother Zaman here is describing, and they actually went on to facilitate for these refugees coming in similar jobs or similar job platforms that they were accustomed to, working with in their back home countries. So, is that included in fostering innovation? Yeah. So once again, it took a group to help a group, and this is at the end of the day the essence of the Islamic code of conduct in relation to human beings. Ta'awanu, right? Make that, help each other على البر والتقوى, upon paths of righteousness and paths that will take you closer to Allah. So I've seen at first hand how people who came as paupers because of the doings of man, right? Or how they came into a certain vicinity and they became leaders and independent because, once again, of causes like fostering innovation, if you want to call it that, or simply just people providing them with assistance. So it is possible, but once again, people just need to take that sincere risk, that sincere chance, and make that dream into a reality. And once again, I know there's just a handful of people here, but this session is being recorded, so if you found it to be beneficial, Brother Zaman, I seen him myself putting so much effort day in and day out to putting this together, this presentation. So, just valuing the effort of another believer is praiseworthy. Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra al-muhsinin, right? Allah doesn't waste the efforts of those who do good. So we can learn a lesson from that, and also try to, share the presentation Brother Zaman gave and these insights that he's provided through his experience and the passing of time and his bad experiences and good experiences, his insights into history and the history of Islam, the history of Muslim inventors and innovators. These things we can take from this recording and pass it on to our close friends and families who we think will benefit, and who possibly have that idea, deep down hidden in their hearts or in the course of their minds, that we want to do something, but we just need that push, and maybe this could be that push for them. So inshallah, do your effort at an individual level. Hopefully once it's uploaded, this video, Brother Faraz will send it out, and inshallah let us do our part to contribute to the goodness. With this, inshallah, it's time for the adhan. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.